Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen has a thing for OP's husband. My Karen neighbor is obsessed with my husband. My husband and I, both 39, just bought a house. The house has a shared yard area with another house. The yard area is also the very long driveway, so fences can't be added anywhere. Both houses are behind a large shared fence. I should have known something was up because the realtor kept ignoring my questions about the neighbor until signing. Then she gave a brief summary that sounded perfectly fine. A single woman, around 50, works as a nurse, so she's gone a lot. She has one dog that's very friendly and owns a horse at the stables down the street. My husband was working long hours, so I basically moved into our house alone with the help of our daughters, twins who are 16. During this time, I noticed she was home a few of the days, but she never came outside. That's cool. I'm outgoing, but I also get social anxiety, so fine by me. Saturday came around, and my husband is home to help move the bigger items in. The second we got there, this woman tripped trying to run out of her house so fast to say hello. I thought it was weird, but nothing to harp on, and we went about unpacking after a 10-minute conversation. It's been 6 months now, and I'm starting to really lose my cool. If I'm outside, she will wave through the window. If my daughters go outside with our puppy, she goes inside and closes the blinds. If my husband walks out to talk to any of us or to take the dog out, boom, she's outside and in his face. She will talk and talk for so long that I usually just give up and go inside. She will talk my husband's ear off for up to an hour multiple times a day. On one hand, hey, at least it's not me she's obsessed with. But on the other hand, I've never been able to sit on my porch with just my husband. I can't talk to him for more than 15 seconds before she runs over with her dog. I wanted to stay in the deck, but I can't imagine being forced to stay outside with her all weekend while we work. I even returned a patio set my mom bought us because we could never sit outside and have a meal, and I didn't want chairs for her to sit on and get more comfortable, which she absolutely would. I think I would understand more if she was older, lonely, or had no social life, but she does. She actually has friends over every week. Right this moment, she has some people over, but is still standing in front of my husband's car talking his ear off while ignoring her guests. All her family and friends know who my husband is. But why? We don't know any of them. The sort of snapping moment where I hit my limit was last night. My daughter was outside training the puppy. My husband had to go help her. He went outside, and this lady tripped over our puppy, stood between my husband and daughter, with her back to my daughter, and had my husband say, "Hi," to her sister on FaceTime. But why? Why is any of this happening? It turns out my daughter has noticed this a lot. I didn't realize she was making them uncomfortable too, but she is. I vented about it to our other neighbor, and it turns out similar things happened with the previous owner, and it's a big reason that she sold her house. Now what? I can't get sprinklers. I can't get a fence or bushes to block anything. What's this woman's deal? What do I do? I really just want to know what her deal is. Hubby needs to start ignoring her. You need to plant trees. Put something to block her view so that you can enjoy your yard. Tell her to get off your property. As hard as it is, hubby needs to put his foot down. Hey, I'm in the middle of something and you're interrupting. I need you to leave so that I can spend time with my family. You're making me uncomfortable with how often you show up uninvited to my home. It doesn't matter if her feelings get hurt. This woman is unhinged and really disrespectful. He doesn't need to be mean, but he does need to be firm and unapologetic. It sucks if she gets offended, but this is her issue, not yours. Am I wrong for blocking my friend over her obsessive Taylor Swift hatred? I'm 25 female, have a friend, Izzy, who's 26 female. We've been friends since our last year of undergrad. We're not super close or anything, but we run in the same circles, have a laugh together, and we've helped each other out in the past. Now, I'm a die-hard Swiftie, and she hates her, which in my eyes shouldn't be a deal breaker. We have other things in common, so we just don't talk about Taylor Swift. I have friends with whom I can gush about Taylor Swift, so I'm not bothered. Recently though, Izzy has become bothered, and it seems her hatred for Taylor Swift has grown. I can't remember exactly when it started, but I guess it was around last year when I bought tickets for the Eras tour in the UK. I was beside myself with excitement, and of course, Izzy asked when she ran into me why I was so excited. I told her, and she immediately shut me down and told me I was stupid for paying extortionate amounts of money to see such a mediocre artist, while also complaining about rent and my job not paying me enough. I was quite shocked, to put it mildly. I told her I'm not in the habit of buying concert tickets every month and pointed out that she just paid a lot for a holiday in Spain, but she just rolled her eyes and told me, "That's different." I tried not to take it personally, but it really did sting. After that, I really noticed it growing. Previously, there were occasional jabs about not giving me the aux cord or not trusting me with my music tastes, but those grew into her sending me memes on Instagram about how much Taylor Swift sucks. When I asked her why she was sending me these, she would complain that I can't take a joke. If I was listening to music, she would ask me what song, and if it was a Swift song, she'd make a show of rolling her eyes. If it wasn't, she'd be incredibly over-the-top sarcastic about, "Oh, you can listen to other music?" Every time I posted about Taylor on my socials, she would reply to them to complain that I'm subjecting her to more terrible music. I pointed out that she doesn't have to listen if she doesn't like her, and she replied, "Yeah, but you never shut up about her." I offhandedly mentioned shopping for a new dress for the Eras tour, and Izzy went on a 5-minute rant about why I would get a new outfit for a stupid concert, and that most of her fans are little kids or have the mentality of little kids. I guess she noticed my sad face because she rolled her eyes and said, "This is why no one likes Swifties. You're all so sensitive." She even grills me about Taylor's actions, like her private jet flights. For the record, yes, she uses the jet excessively, but I don't think she's a Captain Planet villain, and I have issues with how the article was written and presented. When I said this to Izzy, though, she just sighed and said something about how I'd let Taylor Swift destroy the planet. I once posted about my volunteering with a local Green Spaces initiative, and Izzy made sure to comment, "But you're fine with Taylor Swift destroying the planet?" Again, she defended it with, "It's just a joke." When TTPD came out, she would send me screenshots of lyrics she didn't like and say, "This is the songwriter of the generation." The conversation went on for ages, with her just sending me more and more screenshots and getting mad whenever I tried to explain a lyric. At one point, I let it slip that I'm not a huge fan of the lead single, and she seemed delighted, saying, "So, you admit that she's a terrible songwriter?" It was exhausting. And that's not getting into how her socials have a fair few rants about how much she hates Taylor Swift. Honestly, it feels like she thinks about her more than I do. It came to a head a few weeks ago when I posted a photo of a new tattoo I got. My Eras tour date was so special to me for many reasons that I got a tattoo of it with one of Taylor's lyrics underneath. Of course, Izzy was one of the first to reply, telling me how stupid and childish that was and what a waste of money it was. She said I was too basic, and I realized I'd had enough. When you look back at our messages, all of them were us arguing. It felt like we weren't even friends anymore, so I just blocked her. And now my friend group is split. Some messaged me right away asking, "What the heck?" When I explained, some of them were on my side and even called Izzy out for being weird. Others took her side and said I should accept that not everyone likes Taylor Swift and should learn to be friends with people who disagree with me. Our main group chat has been fairly quiet since the incident. I haven't heard from Izzy since. Last I heard, she's been talking smack about me in another group chat and accused me of breaking up the friendship. So yeah, am I wrong? I have some friends who stood by me and said Izzy took things too far, others who said I should have said something sooner, and others who think Izzy is 100% the victim and I'm the villain. Ironically, I've been listening to Taylor's music to cope. Not the jerk. I'm not a fan. A friend of mine is a huge Swiftie. I just don't click on the videos, but will still interact with her concert photos because I support my friend having fun, even if I don't care for the artist. It isn't hard to go, "You must be really excited. I hope you have fun," and then change the topic. If I were a fan of something and someone would not stop telling me how much they hate it despite knowing I'm a fan, I wouldn't want to talk to that person anymore. I also feel no need to apologize for that. I'm not obligated to give my time and attention to anyone unless they're hooking up with me, feeding me, or signing my paycheck. Not the jerk. You can be friends with people who disagree with you to a point. What you don't have to do is submit to them being mean and a bully to you over something that's honestly not that serious. I love Taylor Swift. Went to one of her Paris concerts and it was sensational. But I know people who don't like her or her music, and it's perfectly fine. We can't all like the same stuff. That would be boring anyway. But you're not at fault for protecting yourself from someone whose main hobby seems to be putting you down. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her friend? Please let us know. I would make a joke about Taylor Swift here, but last time I did that we lost about 100 subscribers, so I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I just found out my husband's been lying to his work about my pregnant sister being his wife. I'm really struggling right now and could use some advice from people who aren't in my immediate circle because I'm too embarrassed to talk about this with anyone else. I'm 30 and I've been married to my husband, who's 32, for 5 years. We've been together for 7 and we met back in college. He was the first guy who made me feel comfortable in my own skin. I've always been more of a tomboy, into sports, preferring jeans over dresses, and my body's more on the athletic side. Growing up, that wasn't always easy, but my husband loved me for who I am, and he never made me feel like I needed to change. I really thought I'd found the perfect partner. I also have a younger sister, Rosalie, who's 26, and we've always been close. She's beautiful and effortlessly charming, the kind of person everyone just loves. Our mom has some serious narcissistic tendencies and definitely played favorites growing up, with Rosalie being the golden child. It wasn't her fault, and she never asked for the attention. In fact, she's always been super kind and supportive, even though she's the type who avoids confrontation and puts herself last to make others happy. So we've never really had any issues between us, but all these comparisons growing up left me with insecurities I've never fully shaken. About 2 months ago, Rosalie's long-term partner left her after finding out that she was pregnant. She was devastated, and we agreed she should move in with us for a while to get back on her feet. She's been staying with us ever since, and at first, everything seemed fine. My husband didn't seem to act any differently, so I didn't suspect anything was wrong. A month ago, though, I asked Rosalie to drop off something for my husband at work because I was swamped. I didn't think much of it, just that it would save me some time. Well, she did, and it turns out that when she got there, everyone assumed she was his wife. They congratulated him on his beautiful wife and their soon-to-be son, and instead of correcting them, he just went along with it. He admitted that he liked how his coworkers reacted to having a beautiful wife and a baby on the way. It made him feel good. One of his coworkers asked him where his wife was at an event, and since Rosalie had already dropped by once before, they assumed she was his wife, and he didn't correct them. It made him feel validated, like he was living up to some ideal that I guess I don't fit into. I didn't find out about any of this until a few nights ago. We were out for dinner celebrating our anniversary when we ran into one of his coworkers at the restaurant. The guy asked my husband where his wife was, and when my husband said something vague about her being busy, I felt like the ground had just dropped out from under me. The date was basically ruined, and we went home as soon as we ate. I confronted him as soon as we got home, and that's when he finally told me everything. To say I'm devastated would be an understatement. My husband and I had always agreed on being child-free. We had that discussion early on in our relationship, and I thought we were on the same page. I don't have a strong desire to be a mom myself, partly because I have PCOS, and I know it would be difficult for me to conceive. But now, it feels like my husband's been using my sister to live out this dream that I could never give him. Rosalie had no idea about any of this. When I told her, she was horrified. She kept apologizing even though none of this is her fault. She feels awful and has even offered to move out, but I can't ask her to do that. She's already going through so much, and I want to be there for her, but it's so awkward now. I can see how guilty and uncomfortable she feels being in the middle of this. This situation has also ripped open old wounds I thought I'd healed. I spent most of my 20s in therapy working on my self-esteem and trying to overcome these insecurities, especially the ones tied to growing up in Rosalie's shadow. I thought I'd finally come to a place where I could love myself for who I am, but now it feels like all that progress has been undone. Years of therapy feel wasted, and I'm back to square one, questioning my worth and my place in my husband's life. Since finding out, things have been incredibly strained at home. My husband and I aren't even sleeping in the same bed, and we've barely spoken to each other. The trust that we once had and feels shattered now, and I had no idea how to even start repairing it. I feel so betrayed. If he can lie about something like this, what else is he hiding? Did he think that I wasn't good enough to be introduced to his colleagues? And why has he never talked about his work friends before? I'm starting to wonder if he's been hiding me because he's embarrassed by who I am. This whole thing has dragged up every insecurity I've ever had. I've always felt like I didn't measure up to Rosalie, even though she's never done anything to make me feel that way. But now it feels like my husband has confirmed my worst fears. He chose to pretend Rosalie was his wife because she fits some ideal image and I don't. I honestly don't know how to move forward from this. I love my husband and I want to believe that this was just a big mistake, but it feels like so much more than that. I'm also worried about how this is affecting Rosalie. She's been nothing but supportive, but I can see how uncomfortable and guilty she feels being in the middle of this. I'm struggling. How do I even begin to address this with my husband without it turning into a fight again? I feel so low, but I can't stand the idea of our relationship ending. I love this man more than anything. He keeps saying sorry and trying to plan date nights, but I'm honestly not in the mood for any of it. I've cried multiple times and have been binge eating more than ever now. How do I live my life now, knowing that I'm possibly not enough for my husband? Why are you worried about repairing the trust between you and your husband when it was he who broke it? What has he done to earn back your trust? Groveled? Explained his reasoning? You've done nothing wrong here. I agree. OP, it's not your job to repair what he broke. It's only your job to decide if it can be repaired. This shouldn't be embarrassing for you. It should be embarrassing for him. What weirdo behavior. Honestly, if he was my coworker and I found this out, I would be roasting him for being such a pathetic weirdo. This is like Seinfeld level bizarre. I'm not sure if I want to be married to my wonderful husband anymore. I, 35 female, have been married to my husband, 38, for 12 years, together for 14. We have 2 wonderful kids who are 8 and 5, and we built a great life together. I have no complaints about the man I'm married to. He's loyal, honest, and a hard worker. He does everything for us and adores both me and our kids. I've never had to question his faithfulness. He's never been the slightest bit mistreating me. He keeps up with his end of the housework, plus more if I'm honest. He is not perfect, but he is an amazing husband, father, and friend. However, I have not been attracted to him for years, and I find myself wondering if I'm in love. I adore the person he is. He's my absolute best friend, but I often find myself fantasizing about being alone. I don't think about dating or being with other men. I'd be fine being single. I thought about divorce so many times in the past 4 years or so, but I've always pushed those thoughts aside for our family. They have become more frequent lately, and I'm not sure how to handle it. Yes, we go on dates frequently, and we try to find activities we enjoy together. I've been pushing myself for a good love life with him more in the hopes that I will overcome all of these feelings. But I just find myself not feeling it in the slightest. It has nothing to do with his physical appearance. He's very handsome and takes care of himself. I'm just not into it. I've started therapy individually to help process these feelings as well as deal with past issues. I have also set up an appointment for marriage counseling for us, although I'm not sure if that will do any good since we don't really have any problems to talk through. Our relationship is great and we rarely argue. We agree on a lot and take care of our home and kids as a solid team. This would be so much easier if he wasn't so great. I despise myself for saying I'm considering divorcing such a wonderful man. It absolutely breaks my heart to think I'd be hurting him and our kids. I'm not saying that I will divorce, but I have certainly considered it multiple times. I have no real reason to leave other than unhappiness on my part. I know he'd go out of his way to try to make me happy. However, I don't think there's anything that can be done on his end. I'm prepared for the awful comments I'll receive here. Just curious if anyone has been in a similar situation and how you've dealt with it. I'm so torn between spending the rest of my life sacrificing my own happiness for that of my husband/best friend and our kids, or risking it all to find myself. Update. I was not expecting this post to blow up like it did. I appreciate the feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I started individual therapy last night and want to focus on that for a while before we begin marriage counseling. I understand that I personally have a lot I need to work through. I also intend to speak to my PCP about getting my hormones checked just to make sure that's not an underlying source. I currently don't take any medications. I have no intention of leaving or making a decision about divorce anytime soon. I plan to do a lot of work on myself and really make an effort in our relationship before even considering leaving. Yes, we go on dates. Yes, we've tried spicing things up. No, I don't have my eye on anyone else, nor do I even care about dating in the future. I've never even taken a trip on my own, not even a girl's trip. I would like to give that a try, although I feel like that will hurt my husband's feelings as well. He's very much into doing things together and doesn't always understand how much I need alone time. I will look into finding hobbies for myself, although I truly don't know where to start. I'm not giving up on my marriage. Ideally, I would love to make this work, and I'm willing to put in the effort to at least try. The last thing I want to do is throw all of this away, and it physically pains me to think I might hurt him. I was simply venting to some internet strangers, looking for advice, and seeing if there was anyone out there who has been in my shoes. This is a journey, and I'm not sure where it will end up, but I do want to put forth my best effort in improving myself and hopefully saving my marriage as well. Never sacrifice your happiness to make someone else happy. Leaving my unfulfilling marriage was the best choice I ever made. My husband thought his only duties were to keep a roof over our heads, keep the bills paid, and help with a few chores when he got home. But to me, that was the bare minimum. When I fell in love with him, he was the perfect man. But over the years, he stopped buying me random gifts, stopped taking me on trips, started getting upset when I wanted to stay out late with my friends. I've spent the last few years dating around, and I will warn you that dating is not easy right now. Most guys in their 30s don't have their life together, so I do miss that part about my husband. But I'm enjoying my life now, and that's what's most important. Follow what your heart tells you. Same reason my wife left me. It wasn't me, it was her. Now I only get to see my kids on weekends, and they tell me how mom is always going out and leaving them with babysitters. I blame social media. It made my wife think that real life is supposed to be like the crap you see on there. No, real life is supposed to be about love and family. If you decide to divorce, you can still have a wonderful relationship as friends and co-parents. You might cause him pain initially, but it'll be temporary, and it could open both of you up to new fulfilling relationships, whether romantic or platonic. I'm not saying to leave him, as nobody here is in the position to tell you what the right decision is, but him being a good person is not necessarily a reason to stay married. The fact that you've been thinking about divorce for 4 years, 1/3 of your relationship, that says a lot. All selfish people self-destruct. Sad that your soon-to-be ex-husband and your kids are part of your collateral. I'm sure that after you hook up with other people to find yourself, you will regret it and try to regain your husband. These posts are a great reminder that marriage is only a show and nobody means their vows. It's for social status, a party, and alimony when she gets bored. Am I the jerk for refusing to give up my table in a coffee shop for a woman who supposedly was recovering from back surgery? On Saturday mornings, I study at a cafe. It's always crowded. The coffee shop noise helps me focus. So I show up at opening at 8 a.m., order some food and a drink, and I stay for 2 to 3 hours. The layout consists mostly of 2-person tables that can be pushed together, with some larger tables and counter seating as well. Even though I go on my own, I always sit at a 2-person table because the counters are uncomfortable for me and they don't have much space. I also like sitting against the wall so that people walking by can't see my computer screen. Yesterday at around 9 a.m., I was working at a table when a random woman sat across from me. This annoyed me because I don't like my personal space being invaded, and I would have appreciated it if she had asked before sitting down, but I ignored it. I was near the counter that day, so she might have just been waiting for her food. As I looked up, I noticed she was talking to another woman in line to order. We'll call the first woman Beatrice and the second woman Susie. Susie was saying they might have to take their food to go because no tables were available. Beatrice didn't address me directly, but she gestured to me as if planning to take over my table. This irritated me further because it felt like I was an object that could be moved, but I knew that when the time came, I would ask them not to sit at my table. Sure enough, Susie got her order and brought her number to my table. She then asked if I wouldn't mind moving to the counters so that her friend could sit there, saying her friend had recently had back surgery and the counters would be too uncomfortable for her. I told her no. The counters are uncomfortable for me too, and there wouldn't be enough space for all of my books and notebook. She called me rude and inconsiderate and said I shouldn't even be there because I wasn't eating anything. I responded that I had bought breakfast and a drink, not that it was their business, and that they could take their food to go. Eventually, one of the workers came over and asked if they were bothering me. I said they were, and Beatrice and Susie were asked to leave. When I got home, I recounted the story to my roommate. I thought she would be as horrified as I was by their behavior, but she was hesitant to take a side. She said their behavior was rude and entitled, but at the same time, I was taking up a table at a notoriously busy cafe for a long time, and I could have just moved. Later, my sister likened it to not giving up a seat to a disabled person on public transit. I don't agree with that comparison because transportation is a need for many people, and these people didn't need to sit down at this cafe. Also, maybe this is selfish of me, but I think a lot of people claim they have back issues or some other mild condition just to get what they want. Both my sister and my roommate said it was a they had to be there kind of situation for them to decide. So I'm wondering if any of you can decide if I'm the one at fault without having been there. Everyone sucks here. The woman was okay to ask, but when you declined, that should have been the end of the discussion. Coffee shops do somewhat encourage hanging out, so I get it. But when there are no more tables left, and you're typically staying there for 2 to 3 hours, then yeah, you're a jerk, both for hogging space and for affecting business. The fact that the employee moved the woman along instead of asking OP to finish up, that tells me this particular coffee shop doesn't agree with you that OP is affecting their business or hogging the table. Seems like their business model is, as long as they continue to order the occasional coffee, they're welcome to stay. Not the jerk. I agree that she didn't need to sit down. If she did recently have back surgery, she shouldn't be dining at places with limited seating. Plus, the way they went about trying to appropriate your table was pretty bold. I would have stayed at the table just because of that. Everyone sucks here. After your intro, I was ready to hate you, but the way it sounds like they just turned up and assumed they could take your table is absolutely infuriating. You studying in a busy cafe for multiple hours, taking up a 2-person table at the busiest time of the week is crappy of you. I think it makes you a jerk. Though some might say that since you're paying, you're entitled to do so. Their entitlement also makes them jerks. Karen tries to steal my husband from me. It doesn't end well for her. I'll call her Tina. My husband, who's 33, and I met each other at a ski lodge 9 years ago. I was with my daughter at the time and a female friend and her kid. My husband was with his 2 brothers and 3 sisters and a few friends. There was a singing competition, and both of us were set up by our friends to enter it. Sparks flew during our duet, and the rest is history. Back to our first meeting. This was the first time that I caught on to my sister-in-law's disturbing behavior. After the singing competition, he and I went to the cafe to chat. His middle sister, Tina, who was adopted at birth, came storming up to us and demanded he come back to their group. She never looked at me and whined when he shut her down. She ran off crying and apparently took her sister's room keycards and locked them out so that they had to stay with the friends in the other room. Fast forward to when we bought a house together. We had a housewarming party and invited family and close friends. Tina showed up in a club outfit. She ignored me the entire time and hung all over my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. She kept recalling tales of them when they were little and how close they were. She'd kiss him on the cheek, hug him, and touched his arm when laughing. He was visibly uncomfortable, so I stepped in. At first, I just thought she had a crush on him, but the way she was acting looked like she was the girlfriend and not me. She was going around reminding and telling everyone that he used to say he never wanted to have kids, but now he's playing daddy to my daughter. One of my friends said she thought Tina was weird for talking about how hot his modeling pictures were from when he did print work back in college, and that her favorite photo was of them at a beach in Hawaii during a family vacation a few years back. Then things go south at the end of the night, when he gets down on one knee and proposes to me. She started crying and ran to the restroom. Their dad went to check on her and then drove her home. I knew exactly why she was upset, but my husband always equated her behavior to jealousy because she never had healthy relationships. After that tantrum, she skipped our wedding, baby shower, our kids' birthday parties, and other family events that we attended. I was fine with extending invitations because I knew she wasn't going to show up. She had some sort of mental breakdown and was in and out of treatment for years. Now I have to say, I wish nothing but the best for her, and I don't know what kind of issues she's going through, but I don't want her disrupting our peace. I'm currently pregnant, and our baby shower is at the end of this month. I'm having it a few months early because I'm at risk for going into labor early, like I did with my other 2. My mother-in-law called to RSVP and stated Tina would be riding with them, and if it was okay if she brought her new boyfriend. I was surprised because we haven't seen her in years, but I was apprehensive to agree. Eventually, I did agree and hoped that she resolved whatever caused her so much distress when she was around my family. Well, it took all of 24 hours for her to start her nonsense. She texted my husband paragraphs at 3 a.m. telling him how she felt about our family. First, she went on to say how much she missed them being close and how I came in and destroyed their close relationship when I barely said 50 words to her in 9 years. She asked him if he was happy with his life because, again, he used to say he never wanted kids or to get married. She then asked if he thought about her in all this time and if he could meet up with her before the baby shower and talk alone, face to face. That was the last straw for me. I asked my husband if he knew she was in love with him, and he just shrugged and said he didn't doubt my theory. He admits her behavior has always been weird and dramatic, but he didn't pay it much attention because there were many siblings and they all hung out all the time. I asked him if he could uninvite her and this new boyfriend because I think she's going to bring drama to our baby shower. He said he wants to talk to his parents first and see what kind of state she's been in. But I know in my gut that she's ready to ruin our day with her theatrics. So, am I the jerk for wanting to uninvite her to my baby shower? Edit. For those of you wondering if anything ever happened between them, the answer is no. I am 100% certain of this. Update. This will probably be my last update since my husband and I decided that we need to be completely removed from sister-in-law's drama so we can focus on having a healthy pregnancy and a family life. I have an appointment with my doctor tomorrow morning that was scheduled weeks ago to check on the baby. Thank you to those of you who are concerned about me and the baby. My husband ran home because Tina blew up his phone, texting and calling. Now my husband always texts or calls me on his lunch break to check on me, even before the pregnancy, so I knew something was wrong when he didn't. Since he left Tina on red, she started calling and sending a slew of unwarranted and degrading texts about me and our kids. So basically, Tina being Tina. He didn't run it by me, but he sent her a long paragraph, which he showed me when he got home, basically telling her off and told her that he would rather never speak to her again than listen to her talk bad about our family. He told her that she would never be invited to any of our family functions and that she needs to check herself back into the hospital if she thought that their relationship was ever anything closer than it actually was. He closed it by saying he would let the family know the reason she was uninvited and that he hoped she's either seeing a therapist or would find one immediately. I'm not surprised at his response because the things she said pushed him to the breaking point. He called his parents and the oldest biological sister, whom he's close with, and explained to them why she's never allowed to visit our home. He shared all of their text messages, and they were mortified. He asked them not to share our address, and when we changed to new numbers. They assured us that none of them shared this information with her because she actually asked for his work schedule and mentioned driving up a day early to surprise him. My father-in-law had the most to say, and I get it, it's his daughter, but he hadn't shared much info beforehand with anyone besides his wife. He said he always knew that she had a little crush on him, but after her outbursts at our housewarming years ago, they had a conversation about her behavior, and she told him that she had been keeping a diary about him since she was a teenager. She explained it was to process her emotions and to challenge negative thoughts. All I heard was that she wrote about him for years, so there's several journals in their home, probably enforcing her beliefs. Apparently, she only strayed away from my husband because my father-in-law kept her in check and was able to get her hospitalized several times before becoming a threat to anyone. I don't know if all of her issues come from the love that she has for him. Typing that just made me feel nauseous, but I hope she gets the help that she desperately needs. He asked that they speak with her about his last text, but that we don't want to know the outcome. They told us they would deal with her and apologized for thinking she had resolved her issues. My in-laws are saints, and I thank them for believing us and keeping her away from us all these years. Luckily, she's currently living with them due to her issues, so they're going to speak to her tomorrow morning. The biological sister-in-law called me when we got off the phone with the in-laws. She told me that she was really sorry because she's the one who hooked the new boyfriend and Tina up and suggested that she show him off at the baby shower, but admitted they had only been dating for like 2 weeks. She said she sent the text Tina sent to my husband to the new boyfriend because that's one of her best guy friends and she wanted to protect him, so I'm pretty sure they're probably not a thing anymore. I'm kind of nervous how Tina will deal with 2 rejections so close together. The 2 sisters aren't that close. Someone pointed out that Tina could potentially be dangerous and hurt somebody, and this really scared me. My husband's going to upgrade our alarm system and purchase more cameras. I don't work summers and will most likely be out on bed rest by the time I have to go back to work, so we wanted to ensure that the kids and I were safe when he's away from the house. I forgot to mention, we live about 5 hours away, so she would really have to go out of her way to show up here if she somehow found out where we live. So that's it, basically. This is my last update. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.